The invisible prison of insecurity. What if I told you that the biggest enemy you will ever face isn't out there in the world, but right inside your own head? Not your boss, not your critics, not even the people who doubt you, but that small, persistent voice whispering, "You're not good enough. You don't belong. You will fail." This is the voice of insecurity. And for many people, it becomes a prison. It steals your courage before you even take the first step. It convinces you to stay quiet when you should speak. It makes you shrink when life asks you to stand tall. But here's the truth: insecurity is not a fact. It is not some universal law. It's not written into your DNA. It is a perception, a judgment, a story that your mind has repeated so often that you started to believe it. And this is exactly where Stoic philosophy becomes your greatest weapon. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics understood something most people today still miss. Insecurity is not about reality, it's about interpretation. Your brain interprets comments, situations, and comparisons, and then creates a narrative that you are less than you are. So ask yourself, how many opportunities have you lost because of insecurity? How many times have you wanted to act, to try, to step forward, but the voice in your head told you, "Don't. You'll embarrass yourself. You'll fail. You're not ready"? If you are honest, the answer is probably too many. And that's why this message is for you. Because the Stoics knew how to silence this destructive voice. They knew how to live with courage, confidence, and clarity even when the world was against them. In this video, we will explore powerful Stoic truths that will show you how to break free from the prison of insecurity. By the end, you will understand not only how to quiet that voice but also how to replace it with unshakable confidence rooted in wisdom, discipline, and self-respect. This isn't about pretending you are fearless. It's about learning to act despite the fear. It's not about convincing the world you are strong. It's about becoming so grounded inside yourself that the world's opinions lose their grip. So stay with me, because what you're about to discover could change the way you see yourself forever. Part 2, Stoic Truth 1. Insecurity is a judgment, not a reality. The Stoics had a simple but revolutionary insight. What troubles us is never the thing itself, but the opinion we form about it. Epictetus said it directly: "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things." Let that sink in. It's not the criticism that hurts you, but the meaning you attach to it. It's not the silence in the room after you speak that makes you insecure, but the story you create. "They must think I'm foolish." It's not the success of others that makes you doubt yourself, but your interpretation. "If they are ahead, I must be behind." In other words, insecurity is not an external truth. It is a filter in your mind, a lens through which you look at the world. And here's the empowering part: if insecurity is just an interpretation, you have the power to change it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this every day in his journal, Meditations. He wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." Think about that. At any moment, you can question your thought: is this true, or is this just my insecurity talking? Imagine standing in front of a group, your voice shaking, your hands trembling. The insecure mind says, "Everyone is judging me." But pause and apply the Stoic perspective. Is that true? Or am I projecting my own fear onto others? The reality is most people are too absorbed in their own worries to judge you. Your insecurity created an illusion, and you believed it. This practice requires vigilance. Every time you feel insecurity rising, treat it as a signal, not proof of weakness, but proof that your judgment has drifted away from truth. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? Is this a fact or an interpretation? Can I view this situation more clearly, more rationally? By doing this, you begin to reclaim control. You stop being a victim of automatic thoughts and start becoming the master of your inner dialogue. The Stoics were not naive. They didn't claim you could stop insecurity from ever appearing. They knew the mind produces thoughts beyond our control. But they taught that your response to those thoughts is entirely within your power. That's the difference between someone who drowns in self-doubt and someone who uses doubt as fuel to grow stronger. So here's your challenge. The next time you hear that inner voice say, "You're not good enough," don't argue with it, don't fight it. Simply label it for what it is, a judgment. Not reality. Not truth. Just a passing thought. And then ask yourself, what would a stronger, wiser version of me choose to believe instead? This shift may seem small, but it is life-changing. Because the moment you see insecurity for what it is, just a thought, you take away its power. Part 3, Stoic Truth 2. You can't control opinions, only your actions. One of the greatest sources of insecurity is our obsession with how others perceive us. We worry endlessly. What if they don't like me? What if they think I'm foolish? What if I fail in front of them? This mental prison is as old as humanity itself. But the Stoics shattered its walls with a single principle: focus only on what you can control. Epictetus put it bluntly: some things are up to us, and some are not. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, these are yours. Other people's opinions, reactions, and judgments, they are not. And here is where insecurity loses its grip. If you live your life chasing approval, you are giving control of your peace to others. Every compliment lifts you up, every criticism drags you down. You become like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by forces you cannot command. Marcus Aurelius warned against this trap. In Meditations, he wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Think about how insane that is. You live inside your own mind, yet you hand over your happiness to strangers, co-workers, or online voices who barely know you. The Stoic solution is simple but demanding: anchor yourself in what is yours to shape. You cannot control whether your boss praises or criticizes you, but you can control whether you show up prepared. You cannot control whether your friend misunderstands your words, but you can control whether you speak with honesty and clarity. You cannot control whether thousands like or dislike your post online, but you can control whether you share something meaningful and authentic. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine 2 lives. In the first, you live constantly calculating every move to impress others. In the second, you act according to your values, regardless of applause or boos. Which life feels freer? Which one feels stronger? The Stoics would say the second. Because when you stop tying your worth to external approval, you finally taste real freedom. You no longer need the world to clap for you. Your inner compass is enough. This doesn't mean you become careless or arrogant. The Stoics valued community and harmony. But they understood that true strength comes from serving others out of virtue, not out of insecurity. You help because it is right, not because you crave recognition. You speak truth because it is noble, not because you fear judgment. You live with integrity because that is the only thing no one can take from you. Here's a practical Stoic exercise. The next time you feel insecure about how others see you, pause and ask, can I control their opinion? Or can I only control my action in this moment? Then, pour all your energy into the action. Let go of the rest. Remember, insecurity grows in the soil of trying to control the uncontrollable. But peace grows when you accept your limits and focus only on your choices. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." So revoke it. Withdraw the power you've been giving to other people's opinions. Stand firm in your actions, your values, your integrity. Because the truth is this: when you live in alignment with your principles, even if the world misunderstands you, your soul remains unshaken. And that is the essence of freedom from insecurity. Part 4, Stoic Truth 3, Stop comparing, start living. Why do we so often feel insecure? Because we compare. We compare our jobs, our looks, our houses, our cars, our relationships. And now, in the age of social media, comparison is like a disease spreading at lightning speed. One person's highlight reel becomes the mirror against which we judge our entire life. But the Stoics warned against this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things." In other words, stop measuring yourself by someone else's standards. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, "Don't waste the rest of your life worrying about others, unless it affects the common good. It will keep you from doing anything useful." Comparison is a trap because it blinds you to your own path. You end up chasing someone else's idea of success instead of living your own. Let's reflect honestly. When was the last time comparison actually brought you joy? Probably never. At best, it gave you a fleeting sense of superiority. At worst, it crushed your spirit, whispering that you're behind, that you're not enough, that you'll never catch up. The Stoics would tell you this: the only person you should compare yourself to is your past self. Were you kinder today than yesterday? Did you resist anger more strongly? Did you act with courage in the face of fear? These are the only comparisons that matter, not your neighbor's bank account or your colleague's promotion. Here's a practical exercise. Next time you scroll through social media and feel envy rising, stop. Ask yourself, does this image make me better at practicing virtue? Does comparing myself to this person bring me closer to wisdom, courage, justice, or self-control? If the answer is no, and it almost always is, close the app, close the thought, and return to your own path. The Stoics lived in empires, surrounded by wealth, status, and power struggles. They knew comparison was poison. Seneca warned, "No man is crushed by fortune unless he first is deceived by her favors." In modern terms, don't let the glitter of others' lives blind you. Much of what shines is not gold, and even if it is, it cannot give peace. Imagine a different way of living. You wake up each day and instead of asking, "Am I ahead of them?" you ask, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" Instead of envy, you feel gratitude. Instead of jealousy, you feel focus. Instead of insecurity, you feel strength. Because here's the truth: comparison steals not only your peace, but your time. Every minute spent obsessing over others is a minute lost from building your own unshakable mind. So the Stoic way is simple, but radical. Stop comparing, start living. Focus on your growth, not their applause. Measure yourself only by your effort, your integrity, your discipline. Marcus Aurelius summed it up perfectly. Be satisfied with the smallest progress, and consider even that is no small achievement. In other words, move forward, even slowly. Your race is with yourself, not with the world. Part 5, Stoic Truth 4, Reframing Failure as Growth. Think about this. How often does your insecurity whisper, "What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm not good enough?" That inner voice is the jailer of countless dreams. People don't try, not because they can't, but because they fear stumbling in front of others. But the Stoics looked at failure very differently. To them, failure was not an enemy but a teacher. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Do you see it? The act of trying, of daring, of putting yourself into the arena of life, that in itself is already success. Epictetus was blunt. Difficulties show a person's character. He believed that setbacks are simply opportunities for us to practice courage, patience, and perseverance. Without challenges, we never grow strong. Now let's look at failure through a Stoic lens. Imagine you attempt something and it doesn't go as planned. You can react in two ways. You can shrink, label yourself a failure, and add another brick to the wall of insecurity. Or you can treat it as feedback, as training, as part of your education in life. Which one gives you power? Which one makes you stronger? Here's a modern example. Think of a person who starts a business, it collapses, and they lose money. Most people would drown in shame. But the Stoic way: you analyze, you extract the lessons, you carry the scars as wisdom, and you rise again with more clarity than before. Seneca said it best: difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Failure, then, is simply exercise for your inner strength. Just as your muscles grow only when they're strained, your character grows when life stretches you beyond your comfort zone. Let's pause for a moment. Ask yourself, when was the last time you avoided trying something because you feared failure? How many opportunities have you lost because insecurity told you, better safe than sorry? And what would your life look like if you reframed every stumble as proof you're on the path of growth? This reframing changes everything. Suddenly, insecurity no longer controls you. You stop asking, what if I fail, and instead say, if I fail, I'll grow. That mindset frees you from paralysis. It gives you courage. It transforms fear into fuel. Imagine a Stoic warrior in the Roman arena. He knows he may be wounded, but he also knows that every scar is a story of resilience. He does not measure his worth by avoiding injury, but by rising each time he falls. That is the spirit we need today. And here's a practical exercise. At the end of each week, write down one moment where you failed, stumbled, or felt embarrassed. Then, next to it, write the lesson you learned. This simple act turns shame into strength. You're training your mind to see failure not as proof you're weak, but as evidence you're becoming unbreakable. The Stoics teach us that life itself is a kind of battlefield. You cannot cross it without scars. But each scar is proof of life, proof of effort, proof of growth. Insecurity fades when you see your setbacks not as judgments against you, but as stepping stones toward wisdom. So next time you fall, don't say, I'm not good enough. Say, I'm becoming stronger. That shift in perspective is the heart of Stoic resilience. Part 6, Stoic Truth 5, Mastering Self-Talk. If you listen closely, you'll realize that the most constant voice in your life is not your parents, not your friends, not even your critics, it's your own. And here's the hard truth: if you don't master your self-talk, it will master you. Insecurity thrives on inner dialogue. It whispers, you're not ready. You'll embarrass yourself. Others are better. Who do you think you are? Day after day, this inner critic eats away at your confidence until you believe the lies as truth. But the Stoics knew that the mind is shaped by what it continually feeds on. Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And how do we react? Through thought, through the words we allow to live in our heads. Marcus Aurelius kept a journal, not to show off, not for fame, but to fight his own insecurities. His meditations are full of reminders like, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wasn't written for us. It was written for himself. He was building a shield against his own doubts. Now think about it. If an emperor, the most powerful man in Rome, still needed to wrestle daily with his thoughts, how much more do we? Self-talk is not something you fix once and for all. It's something you practice every single day, like breathing exercises for your soul. So how do we apply this Stoic principle today? 1. Notice the words you use when speaking to yourself. Do you call yourself stupid, weak, not enough? If so, realize you are planting poison in your mind. 2. Replace the poison with practice. Create reminders, just as Marcus did. Write or repeat to yourself, I am capable of handling what today brings. Setbacks don't define me, they train me. I am stronger than I was yesterday. 3. Test your thoughts. When insecurity says, everyone will laugh at you, pause and ask, is this true? Where's the evidence? Most fears collapse when exposed to reason. The Stoics believed in examining their impressions. Epictetus taught, when you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. We can adapt this. When you are crushed by insecurity, turn to your thoughts and examine them. Are they facts, or are they assumptions? Here's a simple exercise. Each night, write down one negative thought you had during the day. Then write a Stoic response to it. Example: thought, I'm not as good as them. Stoic response: comparison is irrelevant. My only duty is to improve myself. Over time, this trains your mind to fight back, not with blind positivity, but with reason and virtue. Imagine how different your life would be if you spoke to yourself the way a Stoic mentor would. Instead of tearing yourself down, you would build yourself up. Instead of repeating, I can't, you'd whisper, I will. The truth is this: your inner voice is either your jailer or your liberator. It either chains you to insecurity or frees you into strength. The Stoics teach us that freedom begins inside, in the words we choose to believe about ourselves. So ask yourself now, what does my self-talk sound like? Would I say those same words to a friend I love? And if not, why do I keep saying them to myself? Master your self-talk, and you master your mind. Master your mind, and insecurity begins to fade into silence. Part 7, Stoic Truth 6, Practicing Voluntary Discomfort. Most people today chase comfort as if it were the highest good. A soft bed, endless entertainment, the next convenience at the touch of a button. And yet, the more comfort they collect, the more fragile they become. Why? Because the moment discomfort appears, they fall apart. The Stoics understood this trap. They taught that insecurity grows strongest in those who never test themselves. If you live wrapped in ease, then even the smallest challenge, criticism, rejection, or loss, feels unbearable. But if you train yourself to endure discomfort, you build a fortress inside. Seneca wrote, set aside a certain number of days, during which ye shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition I feared? Why did he do this? Because insecurity whispers, what if I lose everything? And the Stoic answer is, let me taste loss before it comes. Let me prove to myself I can endure. Think about the power in this. If you have already lived through hunger, through rejection, through failure, voluntarily, then when life throws these at you, they no longer terrify you. Insecurity loses its leverage. Here's how you can apply it today. Skip a meal and remind yourself hunger won't destroy you. Take a cold shower and learn that discomfort is temporary. Speak your mind in a small matter, even if your voice shakes, so you prepare for bigger challenges later. Sleep on the floor for a night and realize you don't need luxury to survive. Each small practice chips away at the fear of what if. Instead of avoiding pain, you embrace it on your own terms. Marcus Aurelius lived in a palace, yet he trained himself daily to remember that nothing external was guaranteed. He wrote, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. This isn't pessimism. It's liberation. When you no longer cling to comfort, life's hardships cannot enslave you. Now ask yourself, what do I fear losing the most? Could I face a little of that fear today, not because I must, but because I choose to? If I stripped away the luxuries, the distractions, the endless comforts, would I still be me? When you practice voluntary discomfort, you discover that the answer is yes. You are more resilient, more resourceful, and far stronger than insecurity would have you believe. And here lies the paradox. The more discomfort you practice, the more unshakable peace you gain. While others panic at the thought of loss, you've already walked through it, and you came out intact. So the next time insecurity hisses in your ear, what if you fail? What if you lose? Smile, because you've already faced those shadows. You've trained with them. And now, they cannot hold power over you. Part 8, Stoic Truth 7, The Power of Perspective. Why is it that the same event can crush one person and empower another? Because what happens outside of us is never the true source of our insecurity, it's the perspective we choose. Epictetus famously said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Think about that for a moment. A harsh word, a rejection, an unexpected failure, none of these has inherent power. They are neutral until our mind attaches meaning to them. If someone insults you, the sound is nothing more than vibrations in the air. But if you label it as an attack on your worth, insecurity explodes inside you. If instead, you see it as a reflection of their character, not yours, you stay calm and unshaken. This is where Stoicism offers a radical shift. It teaches us that we control the lens through which we see the world. Imagine two people losing their jobs. One spirals into insecurity. I'm worthless, I'll never recover. The other thinks, this is hard, yes, but it's also a chance to redirect my life. Same event. Two perspectives. Two entirely different outcomes. The Stoics trained themselves daily to master this lens. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself in his meditations, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." What does this mean for you? It means that insecurity is not the enemy outside. It's the story you tell yourself about the outside. The good news is, that story can be rewritten. Here's a practical exercise. The next time insecurity strikes, pause. Ask, what story am I telling myself right now? Then ask, is there another way to see this? Let's make it real. Someone ignores your message. Insecurity whispers, they don't care about me. But perspective gives you choices. Maybe they're busy. Maybe their silence has nothing to do with you. Maybe this is a chance to practice patience. The moment you open space for alternative perspectives, insecurity loses its grip. Another practice, zoom out. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. Will this moment of embarrassment, this rejection, this failure even matter? Likely not. The Stoics often meditated on the vastness of time and space to shrink their troubles to their proper size. Marcus Aurelius again reminds us, consider how ephemeral and mean all mortal things are. Yesterday a drop of semen, tomorrow a handful of ashes. Harsh words, but freeing ones. They strip away the illusion that today's insecurities define you forever. So, let me ask you, how many times have you carried a wound of insecurity, only to laugh at it years later? How many times did your worst fear turn out to be survivable, even forgettable? When you see clearly, you realize insecurity is a trick of perspective. Change the lens, and you change the feeling. And here is the paradox. When you train yourself to choose your perspective, you discover you are never trapped. Whatever happens, you always hold the power to decide how you will see it, and therefore, how you will live it. Part 9, Stoic Truth 8, The Strength of Self-Reliance. One of the deepest roots of insecurity is dependence. Dependence on what others think. Dependence on external success. Dependence on circumstances you cannot control. The more your sense of worth is tied to something outside of yourself, the more fragile it becomes. The Stoics saw this clearly. They believed that freedom, strength, and peace come from self-reliance, from building an inner fortress that no outside force can shake. Epictetus taught, seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. Think about how much insecurity comes from chasing approval. You post something online, and if the likes don't come, you feel invisible. You walk into a room, and if people don't notice you, you feel small. But what if your value didn't depend on those fleeting signals? What if you could anchor it in something unshakable within you? Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, look well into yourself, there is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look there. That's self-reliance. the ability to stand tall even when applause is absent, the power to act with integrity even when no one is watching, the courage to say, "I am enough, because I live by my principles, not by someone else's praise." Here's the truth: external validation is addictive. It feels good in the moment, but it enslaves you. Each compliment raises you up, and each criticism tears you down. The Stoics would say this is like being a puppet whose strings are controlled by the opinions of others. But what happens when you cut those strings? You rediscover your freedom. Here's a practical exercise. Each evening, write down one action you took that was guided by your own principles, not by seeking approval. Notice how it feels to honor yourself, even if no one else noticed. Do this consistently, and you'll feel the shift. Instead of waiting for others to confirm your worth, you'll confirm it for yourself. Of course, self-reliance doesn't mean isolation. The Stoics valued community and connection. But they never confused love with dependency. They knew you can care for others deeply without making them the source of your self-esteem. Ask yourself, how much of my life is shaped by the fear of what others might think? What choices would I make if I trusted myself completely? The answers may surprise you. They may even scare you. But that's where growth begins. When you cultivate self-reliance, insecurity loses its claws. Because no matter what happens around you, no matter who doubts you, you carry a foundation within that cannot be stolen. And maybe that's the greatest gift Stoicism offers, the realization that you already have everything you need to stand strong. Part 10, Stoic Truth 9, the practice of resilience. Insecurity often whispers, if you fail, you are worthless. If you stumble, you are weak. But the Stoics flip this idea on its head. They believe that setbacks are not proof of weakness, but opportunities to build strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This single sentence is one of the most powerful antidotes to insecurity. Because insecurity feeds on the belief that failure defines you. Stoicism teaches the opposite: failure refines you. Think about it. When you look back at your life, are you most proud of the easy moments, or the ones where you fell, struggled, and got back up? Resilience is born not from avoiding hardship, but from enduring it, learning from it, and emerging stronger. The Stoics practiced this deliberately. Epictetus reminded his students, "Difficulties show what men are. In adversity, a man is revealed to himself." So how do you build resilience against insecurity? By training your mind to see obstacles as fuel. By reminding yourself that your worth does not vanish when things go wrong. By using hardship as proof that you can endure. Here's a simple exercise. At the end of each day, write down one challenge you faced and ask, what did this teach me? Even small struggles, like handling criticism, facing rejection, or making a mistake at work, become stepping stones when you reframe them. Resilience is not about never feeling shaken. It's about recovering faster, wiser, and stronger. The Stoics were not unfeeling statues. They were humans who faced loss, betrayal, illness, and war. But instead of collapsing, they transformed their pain into wisdom. Imagine walking into a situation where others see only risk. Instead of shrinking back, you tell yourself, whatever happens here, I can handle it. If it works, I gain success. If it fails, I gain experience. Either way, I grow. That mindset is resilience. And resilience is kryptonite to insecurity. Because when you trust yourself to recover, insecurity loses its grip. You stop fearing mistakes. You stop fearing judgment. You begin to see yourself as unbreakable, not because you never fall, but because you never stay down. So the next time insecurity tells you that one failure will ruin you, remember the Stoics. Remember that each obstacle can become the path. And remind yourself, resilience is my shield. No setback can take away my worth. Part 11, the final lesson: true security comes from within. After walking through the wisdom of the Stoics, here's the ultimate truth. Insecurity will always try to whisper in your mind. It will tell you that you're not enough, that others are better, that you don't deserve peace. But the Stoics remind us that real security has never come from the opinions of others, the success you achieve, or the circumstances around you. It comes from something far deeper, your own character. Seneca said, "A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is." What does that mean? It means insecurity is not a life sentence. It's a mental habit. And like all habits, it can be broken and replaced. Every time you shift your focus from what others think to what you can control, you chip away at insecurity. Every time you remind yourself that failure is a teacher, not a verdict, you weaken insecurity. Every time you choose resilience over self-doubt, you build true strength. Think about this. If you had the power to stop listening to that inner critic, how different would your life look? How much more peace, confidence, and freedom would you feel if you lived guided by wisdom, not fear? That is what the Stoics practiced every single day, and it is available to you too. Now, imagine waking up tomorrow morning. Instead of insecurity running the show, you choose to act with courage. Instead of asking, "What will they think of me?" you ask, "What would wisdom have me do?" That simple shift is enough to transform your life one step at a time. The Stoics were not superhuman. They were men and women who faced fear, rejection, and uncertainty, just like us. The only difference: they trained their minds not to be ruled by insecurity. And that's the path you can walk starting today. So the final step is this: stop waiting for permission to live boldly. Stop letting insecurity write your story. Instead, live as Marcus Aurelius urged, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your worth isn't up for debate. It isn't dependent on applause or approval. It comes from living with integrity, courage, and self-respect. That's the kind of strength that no criticism, no failure, no rejection can ever take away. And now, a word for you, our listener. If these lessons touched you, if you felt even a spark of strength rising inside as you listened, I invite you to carry this Stoic wisdom into your daily life. And to keep growing with us, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and let's continue this journey together. Remember, every comment, every like, every subscription is not just support for the channel, it's proof that you are choosing growth over insecurity. And together, we're building a community of resilient, fearless minds.